So I'll be the first to admit it, before I even watched JJK, I didn't think Gojo's light blue eyes really meant anything. I just kind of thought it signified that he was enlightened, very similar to his very bleach white hair, kind of like this crazy white hair that made him kind of godlike, maybe even angel-like type of thing. I didn't think that his blue eyes or light blue eyes even meant anything. But then you learn that the 6 eyes is exactly what those blue eyes are. It's basically an innate gift rarely inherited within the Gojo clan, and it's just your non-standard jujutsu, and it's a trait manifesting in, well, the bright blue eyes. Now, what does the 6 eyes even do necessarily? And in short, it allows you to actually properly utilize limitless. But at the end of the day, there's some that are born with the 6 eyes but cannot actually use limitless. 6 eyes would just be the ability, or would give you the ability to actually utilize limitless because of its insane control over cursed energy. Now, with that said, there's literally no cursed energy in, well, Demon Slayer. So what exactly would Tanjiro even get out of the 6 eyes? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. We'll be talking about a crossover between Demon Slayer and JJK, since most of you seem to absolutely love those especially, and we'll be talking about the introduction of the 6 eyes. Now, the 6 eyes isn't from a Gojo clan, so there is no Gojo clan here. In Demon Slayer, it's going to be a bit different. I'm going to relate it to just a rare, very rare thing at birth, and it's kind of just an anomaly. But this anomaly led to vast different changes in Tanjiro as a younger kid. Tanjiro as a younger kid would find massive spurts of stamina that would be drained out of him, as if his eyes themselves were making him extremely tired, and eventually he had to actually hone it all in. We see this with Gojo, where he wears his blindfold, bandages, or even sunglasses sometimes, and this allows him to kind of hone things down and calm it down. Now, even with that said, with the blindfold on, he can still utilize the 6 eyes to a certain extent, and he can basically see the flow of cursed energy. But in Demon Slayer, like I said, there is no cursed energy, so I'm going to use it as a way of ESP, which, in short, if you're a gamer, you know exactly what ESP is. It is the ability to see through walls, but I won't necessarily mean it in that specific way, because extrasensory perception, or ESP, like I said, is basically a call for sixth sense. It is claimed basically to be a paranormal ability, and we even see that there are demons in the world of Demon Slayer that have massive amounts of extrasensory perception. Even Akaza himself, he has such massive extrasensory perception that if you don't completely and utterly basically get rid of your killing intent, he can sense where you are at all times on a battlefield. And that's exactly what ESP is, the ability to have insane perception. Now, I'm going to be talking about 2 storylines here. 2 storylines that one will be very OP, and the other will be a little bit more balanced. Now, for starters, we're going to start with the very first one, which would be Tanjiro with the 6 eyes, but with no utilization of Limitless at all. Now, I'm not even going to touch the fact that he could possibly use Reversal Red or Hollow Purple, because Curse Energy isn't really that relatable into Demon Slayer, and I could add this or that to make it fair in the verse, but I'm going to just get rid of the idea of him being able to use Hollow Purple and his ability to actually use Reversal Red. Now, with that said, all he is left with is the 6 eyes. 6 eyes would allow him to have basically a 6th sense on top of his already more or less 6th sense of having heightened smell, which I know that is one of your senses, but when it's heightened so much, and so much so that he could literally smell the perfect string and the perfect attack to kill a demon, there is massive benefits. Now, you may be wondering, well, how does this really benefit him just going on throughout life? Now, I'll just start with the encounter with Giyu Tomioka. Well, Tomioka, for starters, would be a pretty easy combatant, just because he's not preparing for Tanjiro to actually be that strong, and when Tanjiro realizes that he has to protect his sister, the blindfold would come off. The senses would heighten so much that he would be able to react to Tomioka in extreme ways. I mean, this is a Tanjiro that's not trained. He is not nowhere near the strength that he would have been normally in canon in the future. I mean, like later on in the story, but he still is able to even do more with his hatchets, maybe even dodge attacks. He might not even have to try and surprise him with an attack from the sky. That's how perceptive Tanjiro would be. The ability to dodge and weave, he would see things far before they even happen, and that is exactly what the ESP, or the extrasensory perception from the Six Eyes, would allow him to do. Now, flat out, this would be strong, and I'm not even saying that this isn't even OP, because it definitely is, but a version of Tanjiro in the future would definitely acquire this. This is very similar to, or more or less similar to, the idea of the transparent world, being able to react based on the movements of one's body, but this is more of a sensible thing than a direct visual thing. Because, and the reason why I say that, and you might be like, well, that makes no sense because the Six Eyes is visual, which I hear you, I agree. But if you're comparing it to the transparent world is a direct visual when seeing throughout one's body. They're able to react based on the body's blood flow and where the blood flow is actually headed to. But the Six Eyes is arguably more overpowered than that, in my opinion, because it doesn't rely on reaction based on blood flow. It relies on the fact that he straight up can sense basically everything around him at all times. It doesn't matter what it is, but he can make images out. It's as if, even though he's blindfolded, it's as if he has constant echolocation that is literally not stopping. That is always on, and with the blindfold off, his senses even maybe sometimes overwhelm him. That's why it drops his stamina so drastically. But now, with that said, he wouldn't kill Tomioka by any means, and he would be told the exact same thing like going to Urokodaki. The training, though, would be so much easier, and arguably could be less beneficial, just because Tanjiro would run up the mountain, perceive everything, and not even get hit or anything by any traps, by any booby traps, nothing. It would be so easy for him to bob and weave. Now, this would make his training sessions a lot more important, because now it's just purely getting his body to the point that he can react based on everything he's perceiving and everything that he sees before the person even does it. So at the end of the training arc, he would 100% be stronger than normal, but at the beginning, it's kind of detrimental to his physical body that he can see everything coming before it does. But luckily, Urokodaki is like a totally different level above. Same thing with Giyu if he really wanted to hurt Tanjiro. So just based on physical body, Urokodaki would be able to most likely adapt and show Tanjiro what he truly could be capable of. And this would be perfect because Tanjiro would not take the idea at all of being a Demon Slayer lightly. And because, let's be honest, there are people out there, maybe not Tanjiro specifically, based on what he's raised like, that would have a massive ego based on the idea that he's never trained, but is able to more or less dodge attacks from a Hashira, which is absolutely wild and insane. But even with all that said, it doesn't necessarily matter now that we're finishing the training, because he now understands that he needs to take things extremely serious. But here's the big arching issue, and I want to talk about this as soon as possible. Now, let me quickly talk about the final selection, which would be a breeze, obviously. Tanjiro would easily beat that, and his real quote-unquote challenge actually wouldn't come until he finally meets Muzan, the first encounter with Muzan. You may be wondering, how is this even a challenge? Well, the challenge is the fact that Muzan would see his eyes, see that he's actually far from normal, and he would realize that Tanjiro is a massive threat. And this would, in my opinion, happen no matter what. I truly believe that Muzan realized that Tanjiro was a threat initially in canon, but there was no true visual representation. He saw the earrings and thought, wow, this is someone that he saw in his past, someone that haunted him. Yorichi was terrifying to him. But when he sees the earrings and sees the way Tanjiro looks, the eyes that he's beholding, the fact that he even wears a blindfold, and when Tanjiro looks at him, revealing one of his eyes, pulling up his blindfold, Muzan would know that this dude, this guy, this demon slayer is not your ordinary demon slayer. He can feel it. He can feel that Tanjiro is sensing everything around him, as if there is no fear from Tanjiro that Muzan will even make a move, as if he understands that Muzan can't make a move. Muzan wants to stay undercover. For some reason, he won't strike down Tanjiro as he is, so Tanjiro doesn't care, isn't worried. He senses everything, it seems, around him, as if as things would happen. And even if Muzan did, he believes, or Tanjiro truly believes, that he could react. But Muzan, he shakes this off and decides to play it off like he didn't know. But we all know, Tanjiro knows that this person is who he is, the king of all the demons, and he wouldn't even end up sending demons, in my opinion, after Tanjiro, or Muzan would not send demons after Tanjiro, for the fact that he is so taken back by the power that he's portraying. So taken back by the Six Eyes themselves, because there's a good chance that Muzan in this reality would have knew about the Six Eyes, would know that they existed, and maybe even hunted for someone that would have them. Because if he actually took over, he maybe got him to become a demon, or even absorbed him, he might have been able to utilize the Six Eyes for himself. Yeah, it's a scary thing, and something that he wanted and sought out for so heavily, most likely, at least in this reality, but he never was able to get it because of how rare and such an anomaly freaking the Six Eyes would be. So he would never see them. Now, he would be so taken back, like I said, he wouldn't even take out Tanjiro. He wouldn't even try. And really, after he meets Zenitsu, he would fight Kyogai, and then meet Inosuke. All of these things would go exactly the same, if not just more beneficial in the favor of Tanjiro. Tanjiro would easily beat Inosuke in hand-to-hand combat. Like, this fight wouldn't even be close. Tanjiro's ability to actually throw hands would be absolutely insane because of his ESP. Like I've been saying this entire time, his extrasensory perception would be insane and would give him the ability to more or less just read and receive information at insane amounts. And he just would be able to basically figure out everything Inosuke was going to do throughout the time pretty quickly, at least during his movement cycles, and would quickly and swiftly defeat him. Now, the real question is, would Rui actually stand a chance against this version of Tanjiro? Now, there's an argument to be made that Rui would actually stand a chance. Now, I only say this because of the physical body of Tanjiro. Would the physical body of Tanjiro be able to keep up with that of Rui? And yeah, you could say that the training was not as beneficial, the physical training, because he's able to overcome it via his perception. And would Rui be able to outspeed him enough to overwhelm that perception? Now, I don't know if that would be necessarily the case. I do think Rui would be a challenge, though, for sure. And his Blood Demon art would definitely put up quite a bit of an overwhelming factor for Tanjiro. But as always, Tanjiro has Nezuko, and when Nezuko awakens her Blood Demon art, basically shocking Tanjiro himself and even Rui, Tanjiro would then step up his game and awakening what he's been seeing for a long time, what he saw his father do, and he's able to replicate it practically perfectly because his extrasensory perception allows him to do just that, allows him to remember back to when his father actually was dancing, of the breath of the sun, and now he's able to replicate it and awaken it even to a larger degree. Now this would put him over the edge, and this would give him the ability to kill Rui. Do I think the fight's close? I really do. I think the fight is closer than you think, but soon that whole sentiment of fights being closer would be pulled away pretty quickly. Now, the reason why I say that is because once they head off to the rehabilitation training arc, Tanjiro would gain access to the ability of concentration breathing constant, and with that, gives him a massive speed boost and a massive ability boost and just flat out strength. Everything else that would happen in terms of discrediting Nezuko and, doing all that stuff would of course still happen, but now that Tanjiro's body is at a totally different level, and now that he's been basically claimed as a quote-unquote Hashira, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really think that they would just allow him to become one. He's still really new, so he might be offered or told that he has a spot as a Hashira because of qualification, but they end up just keeping it as is because he still has a ton to learn. But the fact that he now has more downtime to hone his body, hone his skills, this would be the last big leap that he would need to take out someone like Enmu. Enmu would be a breeze. Enmu wouldn't even stand a chance because Tanjiro would be able to sense everyone that is related to Enmu, would be able to sense everything that is happening throughout the train and be able to counteract it before they even would get jumped or even put to sleep. Now, with that said, I did say that Muzan was taking this thing more seriously, and I did say that Muzan would want him dead, but this would lead to Akaza appearing, but an Akaza that was very informed that Tanjiro was the fight. Tanjiro was the one he needs to kill or basically turn, that he doesn't care what happens, that he needs him now. Now this would change things drastically, because Rengoku and Tanjiro taking on an Akaza that will not relent, well, it could lead to the death of Rengoku, depending on how far along we truly believe Tanjiro to be. Could Tanjiro with 6 eyes, arguably stronger than, or definitely stronger than canon, but arguably stronger in body and plus perception, actually kill Akaza? Here's the issue with trying to kill Akaza, and if Akaza especially is completely and utterly serious, well, the issue is the fact that Akaza, to beat him, you need to have no killing intent. Now, with that said, do you think that Tanjiro would be able to gain no killing intent in such a short amount of time? Well, I don't think so. I don't think he would be able to, but I think his extrasensory perception plus an awakening of a demon slayer mark would push him over the edge. And I mean push him over the edge. This would lead to Rengoku himself even awakening a demon slayer mark, and they would be able to bare minimum force Akaza to run away, and they would still be alive. But I don't know, Akaza, if he fails here, which he knows how serious it is, well, he knows that there is no welcome home, there is only death. So he decides that he's going to go out swinging, and he tries his absolute best, but I think this version of Rengoku and Tanjiro would kill Akaza. But there's another version that I want to say just quickly before we go on with whatever's next, which won't be that long. Now, if Akaza does decide to run away, in my headcanon of a world, I could see someone like Doma or Kokushibo being allowed to absorb him, because Akaza would be basically told by Muzan, it's either this guy dies or you die. So he would send Akaza off to be absorbed practically by Kokushibo or Doma. You probably would say that it most likely would be Doma, just because Doma's just that one up. Maybe forcing a blood duel, then in turn having Doma absorb Akaza by force. Now, I know Doma only eats women and only beautiful people or whatever, something like that. So maybe Muzan does allow the absorption to happen with Kokushibo, and Kokushibo finds it to be disappointing because Akaza failed, losing to such weaklings, and this would make Kokushibo even stronger. And that's a scary aspect, because, well, they would have to take on Kokushibo as a absolute unit. And now I'm going to be skipping over quite a bit. I mean, if Akaza would lose here, the Entertainment District arc and the Swordsmith's Village arc would be very, very easy, especially for Tanjiro, because of the level he would eventually get to here. But I want to talk about Kokushibo possibly actually being able to kill everybody there. I mean, the absorption of Akaza would make him that much stronger. We know how strong Akaza is. He was able to take on both, well, Giyu and Tanjiro at the same time. So if Kokushibo absorbed Akaza, making him that much stronger, would the addition of someone like Rengoku and Tanjiro be enough to defeat Kokushibo? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure. It all depends on what you think personally, how a demon would scale based on their absorption. How much stronger would they get based on their absorption of another demon, which for the information I have, I don't know if we have a clear-cut answer to that specifically and a power scale of that specifically. But in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I'm sure you guys in the comment section would love to leave yours below as well. I think Kokushibo would be so much stronger because of the absorption of Akaza that he would kill all of the demon slayers. Yeah, it's sad, but I do believe that to be true. At the end of the day, it's not like they would have some sort of cure or something like that to harm Kokushibo, make him weaker. And I think this could even make Kokushibo have such Muzan concentrated blood that he's twice as strong, maybe. Or bare minimum, maybe like 1.5 times as strong. And even with Tanjiro and Rengoku, I don't think that they would win. Now, with all that said, that's with regular 6 eyes. That is not counting Limitless, no other cursed energy type thing. Now, there's a reason why I said there's 2 ones and that wasn't the OP version. Well, the OP version is the fact that he's able to utilize Infinity, maybe even utilize reverse curse technique, maybe reversal red, hollow purple. All of these things would make him absolutely delete. And yes, we have the discussion of who's faster, who's stronger. Don't really care about all that. Technique wise and all of that, and the hacks that Gojo has, if you put it in Demon Slayer and you give it to Tanjiro, all of the hacks, it would be insane. So much so that he would wash the verse most likely, and very quickly at that. Now, with all that said, I would love to hear what you guys think about that idea of absorbing Akaza. Do you think maybe Tanjiro being that much stronger would still be enough? Maybe you think it is. Maybe you think Tanjiro being at that level would still be enough to kill Kokushibo. But that's just my opinion. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Like I said, maybe you do think Kokushibo would lose. Maybe you do think Kokushibo would win. Nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed this what if idea. It was a little bit more of a breakdown. I wanted to try to switch it up, see how you guys liked this version, where I was kind of sort of analyzing the ideas of or bringing it into Demon Slayer properly, because that's what I want to try to do a little bit more. But with that said, hope y'all enjoyed this video. What if Tanjiro had the 6 eyes? As always, make sure to show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.